So John, no, that's a lot, and I just want to unpack it a little bit so that way the audience can really understand, all these different ideas that you're coming up with because they're revolutionary in my estimation. So just stop me if I'm not recapping this correctly. But with regard to a mare cap, number one, it's like who's got the power to be able to impose, and the Jockey Club shouldn't have been the messenger on it. Number two, we can't penalized for success. So if the marketplace wants to breed to either new stallions or to proven stallions, we can't say to them as a market, you can't do that because we're in a society where where we can make those choices. But one thing that really I want to kind of flesh out a little bit more is this tiered tax for number of foals that occurred because I don't think the majority of our audience and maybe even the majority of our industry, unless you own a stallion, you don't know that the Breeders' Cup charges you one or one and a half times your stud fee, depending on a multiple of factors. So that there already is a tiered tax in essence based on the number of foals with the Breeders' Cup. So is what you're saying is the Breeders' Cup the messenger that should be putting forth some rules and I guess it's the rules of if you want to have your horses eligible for Breeders' Cup races as opposed to, hey, if you don't want to have your horse eligible for Breeders' Cup race, then these rules don't apply. Am I explaining all that correctly or just kind of hash it out for me?
Sort of. It's a bit ambiguous, but so the simplistic way to say it is as follows: that the 20 some odd years ago, the Breeders' Cup quote modernized their fee structure. Used to be one nomination for a stallion at the listed stud advertised live full stud fee. Then they changed it to say it can be up to 1.5 or 2 if you have 100 foals. So if I have 101 foals by a stallion, I pay 2 Breeders' Cup nominations to have my stallion eligible. But what they never counted upon and what had never happened and was unprecedented was stallions breeding 200 and more mares. 20 years ago, no horse bred 200 mares. I think 183, 186. No horse bred 200 mares. So from in the last 20 years, when we've seen stallion book size rise and rise dramatically, essentially all foals beyond 100 are, for lack of a better word, are tax-free. So if you address these new book sizes by having a fee structure beyond 100 mares, it would recognize today's modern breeding practices, and it would produce money for the Breeders' Cup to enhance purses. Now, you're not going to curb behavior. You're not going to change book size. So if you're dealing with this new reality, until or unless the constituents could sit down and come up with an agreement, why not take whatever this figure is, I don't know exactly, $3-4 million a year and put it into Breeders' Cup purses? Or to say what we're saying right now, beyond 100 foals, you do whatever you want. You don't have to pay us anymore. You're fully taxed, if that's the word you want to use, or represented to 100 foals. After that, you do whatever you'd like. So it's really, some would say it's a penalty. If it was a penalty, you'd make it owners where 50% of all seasons beyond 100 foals go to the British Cup. Obviously, that wouldn't work, and there'd be a revolt, and it wouldn't get anywhere. But
Right.
if you had incremental 100 foals up to 125, under 150, 175, 200 foals, and they all had a fee assessment, everybody's going to continue to do what they do, because if it costs me 25% of a season to have 25 foals and $100,000 horse, the math is pretty simple. And while I might rather not pay it, it's for a good cause. I think it's fair and equitable, and it's modernizing and recognizing what we do today versus 20 years ago. And the failure to do it is not capturing money that should belong to the Breeders' Cup. And other than saying I just don't want to pay it, I think there's 10 reasons why it makes sense. And then as far as a sort of an opposition, there's precedent because it's been done before, and I think it's logical and makes all the sense in the world.